Hello friends, my name is Lynn, and in this video I'll show you how our very modest Z-fold card, probably one of the most easy fun folds out there, can be stepped up in 3 additional ways. This is a double Z-fold card, which unlocks a lot of pop-up potential and additional wiper mechanism potential. Then we have an Easel card, which is a bit of a Z-fold that's been reversed, and it stands beautifully and displays beautifully. And then this really fun flip it card. This card doesn't require any specialty dies. It just requires a fun shape die, and it can be whatever shape you like. So let's make these. All right, so let's start off with how to make your basic Z-fold. So in general terms, all you want to do is create a card base or use a pre-made card base if you'd like, and you just need to score the front of your card base in half. So the way that you score it in half, it should be parallel to your fold line. So here I've got this card base starts at 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and along the 11-inch edge, I scored it at 5 1/2 to create my card base. And then I flipped to the back and I scored at 2 3/4, which is half of 5 1/2. So the first fold at 5 1/2 gives me my standard A2 size card base. And I'm going to fold back on itself at the 2 3/4 score line, and that will create my Z. So the reason why I scored on the back of that panel is because I always fold my score lines as mountain folds, and your classic Z fold card is a mountain fold and that followed by a valley fold. So whenever I need a valley fold, I just score on the other side of the paper. And that gives us our basic Z fold card. So I've gone ahead and decorated this card. It's very simple to decorate, and the only thing you have to remember is that if you're going to hang anything off of that little half section on the card front, you just want to make sure not to accidentally glue it down all the way. So now let's step this up and make a double Z fold card. So our double Z fold, of course, starts with your basic Z fold card. So just do the exact same thing. And again, this can be whatever size card you would like, and you can change the orientation as well. You can make this top down if you wanted instead of side folding. What I've done is cut another bit of cardstock. This has been cut to 8 inches wide by 3 inches tall, and I made the exact same score marks. Half of 8 inches at 4 inches, I put a score line that creates my little mini card. And then on one of those panels, I scored at 2 inches. So that gives me the exact same size as this decorative panel here. So what I'm going to do with my double Z fold is actually decorate it so that it looks very similar in layout and structure as my first card. And that just helps to show you that you can use the same sketches, the same layouts, and just add something a bit different, a bit fun, because when you create a double Z fold, it actually opens up even more opportunities because you actually now have an additional angle that you can work with when you open this up. And you can create some really fun pop-ups, wiper mechanisms, and fun interactions. So this itself is yet another doorway into even more designs. So I might cover that in a separate video, but for this video, I just wanted to take one basic variation off of the Z fold to introduce some additional alternatives that you can play with. So I've got my pad and papers here from the Not Too Shabby Paper Pad Club, and I'm actually working with papers from the Soft Florals paper pad. but I'm not using any of the florals. So that's one of the things I really like about how this paper pad has been designed, because if you love florals, if you love soft patterns and all of that beautiful floral imagery, it's really lovely because there's a lot of it and it's just gorgeous. But if you're not a fan or you just don't need that many floral prints, then you can always flip to the back of most of the papers and you'll find a very basic geometric pattern, which I think is awesome. So you don't even have to use the florals if you don't want to, but it just gives you a lot to choose from. And of course, I really love when I'm using multiple prints on a single project that I have some kind of contrast between the papers, and that can be contrast in terms of color, it can be contrast in terms of the size of the print, or it can be contrast in terms of the style. So mixing florals and geometrics is a great way to offer some contrast between your multiple different pattern papers on your project. Now, to glue this mini card onto my card base, all I've done is fold it flat and then just apply adhesive across the entire exposed side. So what that ultimately will mean is on that wider section that gets glued to our card front, there was only adhesive on the left half. And then that little 2-inch wide section on the very back, that gets adhered to the inside of our card. So you can kind of see that you've got a double Z fold, but it's the same fold, just with your mini card, you would flip it so that the wider section is in front and the folded section is in back, which is the reverse of our card base, where the wider section is on the back and the folded section is in the front. And once you have this assembled, just like your Z fold, it's going to stand beautifully. Lots of different ways to do a double Z fold. You could also make a little, the way that I normally do it is I make a little band at the bottom, and when I want to do something like a pop-up or a wiper mechanism, that works really beautifully. But I wanted to show that you can do it this way as well and create a very similar looking card, but it has an additional area to pop up and have some more surprises and more reveals. Okay, so on to our easel card. Now, you might not normally consider the easel card an adaptation or variation on a Z fold, but really it's the exact same fold, just instead of folding it as a valley fold, you just fold it as a mountain fold. But the same principle also applies where if you're going to stick anything to this that crosses over that fold line, you want to only stick it to the half of your card front that is furthest away from the top score line of your card base. And that's as simple as it is to create the front of your card. And I'll still aim to try to get a design that's very similar to our first two Z fold and double Z fold. But as you can see, once you have this in place, you can prop it up and it will continue to slide down as you see it slowly just inching its way down to the bottom. To prevent it from slipping all the way down and folding flat again, you have to create a little bit of a stopper mechanism. And all I've done here is cut a bit of solid color cardstock to the width of my card, which is 4 1/4, and about 3/4 of an inch wide or tall. And that mechanism was going to get glued to the inside of the card and act as a stopper so that our easel, when it's put on display, it doesn't continue to slide downward. Now I've got this solid color cardstock cut to 4 inches tall by 3 inches wide, which is the same measurement as the other focal accent panels on the Z fold and double Z fold. And then I've used some pattern paper that's cut to 2 3/4 of an inch wide by 3 3/4 of an inch tall. This card, unlike the first two, will be a portrait card, And all of that's up to you, really, though. You can make easel cards and Z fold cards in any orientation. So that can be a really fun way to also adapt the Z fold, is to just turn it. And instead of opening it side to side, maybe open it top to bottom. And I found my panel. It stuck itself to my ATG here. But once you get this glued down, now here you can glue to that entire card front because it's already blocking our card base. And so you don't have to worry about accidentally gluing anything closed or having it not be able to open again. So once you've got that first panel down, then you can decorate this as just a normal card front. So I'm going to add the sentiment, and these cute little images are from the Not Too Shabby stamp of the month. So if you're interested in these products, I'll leave links to all of them in the description box below. The Paper Pad Club does come with a second 6x6 paper pad. And as well, this particular paper pad, Soft Florals, does also have the option for you to add the die cut ephemera pack to your paper pad subscription if you would like to have that. And they coordinate and match beautifully. Really, really lovely. The Party Animal 4x6 stamp set is really fabulous for celebrating really any occasion, but a lot of the sentiments, I think all of the sentiments I use for my set of cards today are birthday cards. I just really, really love this particular sentiment because it's got such a fun mix of fonts and graphics, and it's just a lot of fun. So I did a little bit of spot coloring on the stamped critters here. So all I colored were the little object that these critters are holding, and I colored them to match the pattern papers that I chose for the card. That way it just gives them a little bit of a splash of color, but really the pattern papers are the star of these cards. Now for my third and last adaptation to the Z fold, I'll show you how to make a flip it card that requires no specialty die sets at all. I'm just using a nested shape die set, and the only reason why I want it to be a nested shape die set is so that I have some nice mats and layers that I can use to decorate with. So of course we're going to start off with our Z fold, just as we've been doing. And I chose this particular shape specifically because the design actually has a convenient little detail that marks the center of this die. So what I'm doing is those little 2 points at the middle, I'm making sure to line that up with the fold. It's the fold that was placed at 2 3/4 of an inch, the fold that is dividing our card front in half. So I'm going to tape this down so that it's nice and secure because we're going to die cut, but we're only going to do a partial die cut. And I always like to flip to the back to really make sure that that fold line really does line up exactly with the cutting edge. And from the back, you can see the cutting lines of the die much, much clearer than from the top of the die. So with that secured, I'm going to open up this card because I only want to cut through one layer of cardstock. You only want to cut through one layer of cardstock. So be sure to open up your card. And we also only want to cut half of this. So you want to cut the half that is furthest away from the fold of your card base. So your card base always has that standard fold that folds the card in half. So you want to die cut the portion of this design that is furthest away and only on that front half. So to do that, you just place your top cutting plate over your die, but only up to that fold line. And that way, the portion of the die that's not covered by your top cutting plate won't get cut through. And so once you've had a chance to die cut this, you can remove your die and you'll see that only half of this design has been cut. and it's only been cut through the frontmost panel of our card front. So it should look a little something like this. Now, there is a fold going right through our decorative shape here, and that's totally okay, because what we're going to do is cover that with some decorative papers, and that way it will hide the fold, and you can hide the fold from the front and from the back as well. It also makes that center panel a little bit more sturdy also once we add some additional mats and layers to cover up that fold line. And again, this is going to be a very similar looking design as to our the previous cards that I've made. And again, it's just to show you that you can have a very similar look, create a very similar look, but have some pretty different interactions and mechanisms, all stemming from our original, very modest little Z-fold. So I've die cut using the exact same die that I used to cut into the card front. I've cut out of solid color cardstock. And again, using the same colors, using the same papers, just to create a set that looks similar and gives you a similar look. This is a bit of scrap from one of the earlier cards, and I thought it would be nice to use as a decorative panel on the left side. So one of the really beautiful aspects of a Z-fold is that you kind of have this split design where you've got a central focal image or panel, and then on the left side of that you can back it with one design, and on the right you can back it with a second design. So it's really nice in that way. Now this bit of pattern paper, it's actually the full 6 inches tall. And what I've done is I've, again, lined up that same die using the same center point, and I'm lining it up against one of the edges. Now this panel is bigger than what I need it to be. It's taller than it needs to be, and it's wider than it needs to be. And I always also flip to the back, again, to double check that the actual cutting lines of the metal die do line up exactly at the edge of this bit of pattern paper. And the reason why I've left this pattern paper larger than what I know I need it to be is because it's just going to be a lot easier to fit this onto the panel, the card base, and then trim off the excess, rather than cut a bit of cardstock exactly the size of this little half fold here, which if you wanted, you could do. It measures 2 3/4 wide by 4 1/4 tall. And then you would be left with having to line up the die exactly where your die cut through that card panel is. So rather than do that, I knew that I wasn't going to have too much of, too many scraps left over. So I just left that strip a little bit bigger than it needed to be. Die cut anywhere along that edge where I knew I would have excess on all 3 edges, and I glued it down where it needs to be positioned exactly, and then I just trimmed off those edges. So now I can start to decorate the rest of this card. So on the back of the little flip it panel, I also want to put a little bit of solid color cardstock. Again, this is to hide that fold line, because I definitely don't want to have something like that shown. It kind of also, it sort of, for somebody who isn't a card maker, it kind of maintains the mystery of, oh, how does that work? Because not everybody knows how these things are constructed, and that's a little bit of the fun when you play with these interactive mechanisms. So that's basically our flip it card complete, and all that's left is to decorate. And again, this is another of the Z-fold variations where a lot of the fun is in revealing another scene, another sentiment, and so that is, I think, one of the beauties of a Z-fold, because it does have that extra little mechanic to it where the card recipient, when they open it up, it's just an opportunity for them to kind of discover more of the card and reveal more of the card. And then you can have a lot of fun with that because you can have a sentiment on the front and then have it reveal something of a follow-up sentiment on the inside. So lots of opportunity. And also, it does open up some more opportunities to decorate and do some fun things, like if you hung images off the edge of that little panel, it can be kind of fun to, when it's on display, to have something that almost looks like it's hanging in midair. So long as whatever you glue to that little, like the ornate focal image panel that I have, if it's hanging off the edge to the right side, you just want to make sure you're only gluing it down to the panel. Anything that overhangs that and extends beyond that to the right, you do not want to glue down because that'll glue your card shut. And so I'm going to continue to also decorate on the inside of the card. If you do like this video and you found it interesting, fun, and you want to give it a try, I hope you'll make your cards and share them to my Facebook community group. There's a link to it in the description box below. I would love to see what you've made. And as well, I'm putting on screen here a QR code. If you'd like to leave me a little bit of a tip, you can scan in that QR code and it'll take you over to PayPal, and you can choose, if you'd like, to leave me a little bit of a tip. And the reason why I'm recommending PayPal is because they do have transaction fees, and PayPal does get a cut of whatever you choose to gift to me. But it's a lot less than what YouTube takes if you were to leave super chats or super thanks. And so for folks who like to support me, I think it's better value for your money to leave me a PayPal tip. So here's a final look at our 4 cards, all starting with our very modest, very, very simple fun fold, the Z fold. And all of my cards today are featuring the Not Too Shabby Paper Pad Club. I only used one of the pattern paper and sets, and there's still the second pattern paper set, and there's still the ephemera pack that I haven't crafted with. So look forward to additional videos where I feature some of those other products. But I am also featuring in this set of cards the stamp of the month, which has the option to get the coordinating dies, and there are coordinating dies for the sentiments too. So I stamped everything out. I did a little bit of very, very simple spot coloring so that I can really just pick up some of the colors in the pattern papers that I chose to work with. And even though this paper pad is called Soft Florals, I really didn't use many of the floral prints. This was the only card that features a floral print to it. And so if you are making cards for somebody who's not into flowers and all of the soft florals, just flip to the back of the design because these colors are beautiful and they are some really nice geometric designs. So I think there's something for everybody in this paper pad. So really, really fun. My final card is this Flip It card, which you don't need a specialty die to create. You just need to know how to do a Z-fold card and a fun shape die that you can easily find the center of. That's my set of 4 cards today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.